Joanna Grant. I'm Director of Education and Outreach for the Nevada Housing Coalition. And I'm really excited about this conversation today to really kind of get at the intersection between education and homelessness and housing. We have some amazing panelists and coalition partners today. And we have an incredible moderator who is a longtime community supporter, Danette Sedeth of PNC Bank. Sorry, I just got lots of chats coming in. Danette is a regional president and head of commercial banking for PNC Bank and a board member for United Way and some other longtime community organizations. So really excited to have her here today. And I'll just go ahead and let you take it away. Just a quick note that we are recording this session and we'll be posting and sharing the slides later. And we did have a change in the panelist. Michael Flores from Nevada Youth Network was not able to join us today. But we still have a lot, really great discussion for you. So we'll just have more time with our panelists and our service providers. And so I'll let you take it away, Danette.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for the introduction, and especially thank you for asking me to moderate this panel today. I am very committed to education and affordable housing here in Nevada. PNC is very committed to helping our communities prosper and to strengthen our communities through investments in affordable housing. Last year alone, we invested $1.19 billion in equity in affordable housing across 27 states. So this is an important topic for all of us here today, and especially at that intersection with how it impacts education. I am excited to introduce our esteemed panelists today. First, we have Melissa Jacobowitz, Chief of Development and Strategy for the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth. We also have Lacey Keele. She is Program Director, and Jeremy Stocking, who is Department Director for the Children's Cabinet. Very excited to have all of you here today. So thank you very much for joining us. I want to kick it off with Melissa and ask Melissa to give a little bit of background and talk about her organization.
I'm so sorry. Can I interrupt? It looks like Michael was able to join us after all. So, Michael.
Great.
Yeah. So I'm so sorry about that. And so maybe we could kick it off and I'll introduce Michael. So sorry about that. Michael, thank you for joining us today. Michael is the Executive Director of Nevada Youth Network and is here to share with us today some stories from his work in partnership with Southern Nevada Regional Housing Authority and some of the work the Nevada Youth Network does. Thank you for joining us, Michael.
No, thank you. And I apologize for being a little late today. And as mentioned, my name is Michael Flores, and I founded the Nevada Youth Network. And the Nevada Youth Network is a nonprofit that we started about 13 years ago over in Sherman Gardens Annex, which is part of the Southern Nevada Housing Authority. And it was during a time when there was, unfortunately, a lot of violence going on in the area, and there weren't a ton of organizations doing service in that community. And so I had been working with them. I was about 21 years old and had gotten a school named after a woman named Ruby Duncan, who Ruby Duncan did a lot of community advocacy in that area for women living in welfare, on welfare, and needed assistance. And so she really was an advocate for a lot of these moms. And so I was really inspired by her and wanted to do something to honor her. So we got a school named after her, and we threw a block party over in the area that she did her work. And then afterwards, the Housing Authority approached me about doing something with kids. And so I went and checked it out. And I had some friends who grew up over there, and they told me to be careful, just to be honest. And so I told them to come with me to check it out, and they did. And I remember we go in the apartment. It's a regular public housing apartment, bricks and not too welcoming. And we walk outside and there's kids everywhere saying, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" And I just felt really inspired by meeting those young people. I just started coming back. I didn't have a program or anything solidified on what I would do. I just wanted to help. And so I realized a lot of the kids living there were hungry and just looking for some activities to do. So I brought some board games, and then I was able to get my mom involved, who initially was reluctant about me spending so much time down there. But she had a little more background in this space as a substitute teacher. So she came and provided a little more structure. So we started to focus on homework help and recreational activities for the kids. the school right next to the property is called Matt Kelly, which for years had been underperforming. And so we really wanted to make sure we were doing everything we could to support those kids as they went to Matt Kelly and then their middle school and high school. And since the time we've been open, we've sent 5 kids to college. And so we're so proud of doing that. And, you know, it might sound cliche, but education truly is an equalizer. I work at UNR and my job. And so I see this whole process from start to beginning with the work we do at the Nevada Youth Network. And we do Christmas with the kids, Thanksgiving with the kids. They're really part of our family. And we have 2 apartments over there in Sherman Gardens, and the Housing Authority, they've been an incredible partner to us in letting us do this work. And after 13 years, we've really become family with those kids, and they come to us for everything. I'm the emergency contact for a lot of the kids we work with over there. We go to their assemblies at the school, and just have really been able to make sure that we are consistent organization and family in those kids' lives. And even in college that they're in now, we make sure we're keeping up with them, and hopefully going to get some graduations coming up soon. But it really has been all hands on deck. We work with Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department as well. And, you know, we've all really been able to wrap our arms around these families over in that community. We do nutrition classes, and we're going to be partnering with the city of Las Vegas as well coming up pretty soon to get pre-K programming going on as well. So in the mornings, there'll be programming from 9 to 12, and then in the afternoon, they'll also be programming for those pre-K students. And then afterwards, we'll come in later in the afternoon with those kids. So all day, they'll be programming early childhood developmental programming for kids living in Sherman Gardens. It's only taken us 13 years, but now we'll be open 4 days a week, essentially from 9 to about 7 p.m. And it's just been a tremendous resource. And I know I'm out of time, but just last thing I would like to say is, it doesn't take a lot to change a community. And it really just takes the right people getting in the room, and I think taking a chance. And I'm so grateful that the Housing Authority did that. I see Lee Quick is on here, and Lee Quick is the person who brought me in 2010. And it's just crazy how it's come full circle and how we're able to work together again. But she has really made sure that we were good partners, great communication, and always making sure that we're on the same page as we're serving these residents in this community. But really grateful to be on here today, and thankful to all the other panelists. I see some folks I'm very familiar with, and just grateful for the opportunity. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was a really, really great story. I love to see that. Thank you, Michael. I'll put some information in the chat if anyone wants to get in touch with Michael on Nevada Youth Network and learn more. And now Danette, thank you so much for your patience, and I'll let you go ahead and take over. Thank you for moderating this discussion today and for being such a great community advocate.
Great. Thank you, Joanna, and appreciate all of Michael's information. So back to Melissa Jacobowitz, who's with the Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, to share a little bit about her program and what that organization does in our community. Melissa?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Danette. And thank you, Joanna and Nevada Housing Coalition and all of the panelists here today. Very excited to be here with you. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'm just going to share my screen and share a little bit about Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, or NPHY, and what we do to help young people experiencing homelessness in Southern Nevada and even throughout Southern Nevada, and a little bit specifically of what we do to intervene on education, right, and really help young people succeed in education, whether that's K through 12, whether that's higher ed. Talk a little bit about our work in that, so that then on the panel today, we can talk a little bit, dive into some more of those details of, you know, what are some of the barriers our young people are facing that we're really getting in here to try to break down, and what are the reasons why it's so important to focus on education and the incredible impact that education can have on at-risk and vulnerable young people's lives. So So yeah, if everybody can hopefully see my screen here. So we're a Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, or NPHY. We've been around since 2000, and our mission is to end youth homelessness and its wide-ranging, devastating impact for every single youth we encounter and for our community as a whole, right? Because we know youth homelessness, right, that Nevada has consistently had one of the highest rates of youth homelessness nationwide year over year, not just in the number of youth experiencing homelessness, but even in the percentage of those youth who are unsheltered on the streets, right? Because we don't have enough resources in our state to be able to even temporarily get young people off the streets. So we know this is a major, major crisis in our state and has been for a long time. And so Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth was founded and is there to be able to provide those wraparound services to intervene in those situations and get the youth the tools, the support, the time, and the hope they need to exit out of homelessness for good, not only for them, but for generational impact on our community. And so some of our areas of impact and some of the work that we do, we focus on a wide range of areas. We really focus on attacking youth homelessness from all angles and moving the needle on this issue, both in our direct service work and in some of our systems level work as well. So we have a variety of programs that cover emergency intervention and assistance. We provide housing solutions. We work a lot on education and employment, like we're going to talk about today. We provide a variety of health and wellness services, whether that's physical health, whether that's mental health, whether that's emotional support to improve young people's social and emotional well-being and strengthen their skills in those ways, et cetera, et cetera. We also do a lot of youth leadership development, different activities that we provide in order to help young people both identify their passions and grow their leadership skills, their self-esteem skills, their public speaking ability, and those skills that are actually really going to help them in education, employment, sustaining stable housing, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also do a lot of systems level advocacy work as well, because we know helping individual youth is the core and is so incredibly important. But if we really want to make a difference in this issue and move the needle, we know that youth homelessness is a systemic issue, right? And that we need to really bring the state together to attack this issue from all angles and look at policy change and look at regional efforts and how we can collaborate better and how we can break down barriers to young people's success in a more macro way as well. So those are some of our areas of impact and the different work that we do. Yeah, and we're really the most comprehensive service provider providing those wraparound supportive services here in Southern Nevada. We are based in Clark County and Southern Nevada, and our services, though, are actually available at every single street corner, well, many, many street corners in Southern Nevada and throughout Clark County. We actually have 24-hour-a-day access to our services through our Safe Place program, which allows young people to get free transportation and get a ride to our services so that we can really bring that access point directly to them where youth are at, make it very easy to access our full range. And we have a full range of services that are carefully crafted to work together to meet young people's individual needs wherever they may be on their journeys beyond the streets and really empower them to craft the future that they want for themselves. So you can see we're here, we have a variety of programs. I'm not going to dive too deeply into this, but everything from outreach, where we go out in the streets, we go out into schools, we meet youth's immediate needs, we raise their awareness about our services. We have, again, a 24-hour mobile crisis intervention program available at all kinds of partner, at convenience stores, at libraries, on city buses, et cetera, a lot of ways to really increase that access 24 hours a day. We also have a centrally located drop-in center to meet youth's immediate needs like food and clothing and hygiene, and also where they can meet with case managers, take life skills classes, access therapy, and do a variety of engagement activities at our drop-in center as well. We also offer emergency shelters, a temporary place for young people to, of course, have a warm bed, clothing, get off the streets temporarily while we work with them on that longer term plan for self-sufficiency. We also do family reunification locally through mediation, and we also pay for bus or plane fare for youth to move in with relatives anywhere in North America and end their situation of homelessness that way as well, right? Because we know family reunification is a critical pathway when it comes to working with young people experiencing homelessness, of a way to get them sustainably off the streets. And then for youth with nowhere to turn, we also offer housing. So we offer transitional housing in NPHY owned properties. And we also offer rapid rehousing, where we do rental assistance and wraparound case management and supportive services for young people who actually are able to sign their own lease and live in community apartments in the community. And we provide them that support to be able to maintain that housing once they graduate out of our program. So just a little glimpse into the robust wraparound services that we offer. Another thing I should mention is we focus specifically, we serve young people ages 12 through 24. So we're looking a little bit at middle school, but a lot of high school and even some higher ed age youth as well. And we primarily serve unaccompanied youth. So there are young people, right, who are homeless together with their families, but we focus especially on serving young people who are homeless on their own, right, who became homeless a lot of times through family breakdown or abuse or neglect or abandonment or situations where they're displaced from their families. And we're focusing especially on serving those unaccompanied young people. So to just quickly dive into some of our educational offerings, right, as you can see, we offer very wraparound supportive services, including, outreach and crisis intervention and case management and housing and all of that stuff. But education is so critical, and it goes inside of every one of those programs, right? We're always working on education with our young people inside of all the services that we're providing them. And one of the ways that we do that is we assist youth with school success, right? So we work with young people to succeed in school. That could be helping young people re-engage in school, right? Sometimes the challenges of homelessness mean that young people get disengaged from school. They drop out, or they just don't go for months or a year on end, or they have trouble keeping up with their education. So we help young people re-engage, re-enroll, get the tools they need to succeed in school. We work with their schools, their guidance counselors, the Title I Hope homelessness office here in the Clark County School District, et cetera, to help them engage in school. And then we help them succeed in school, whether they're re-engaging or already engaged, through one-on-one case management, right? We help them. We have licensed social workers who work with youth one-on-one in all of their educational pursuits. We also offer group life skills classes on education, things like how to do a FAFSA or apply to higher ed, or different ways to help young people succeed in education in a group setting. We also connect young people to tutoring, and we also provide young people with school supplies, and we actually can also help young people pay for their educational fees, right? Whether that's books, whether that's things to be able to graduate, right? Like your graduation cap and gown, or a yearbook, or fees for labs, or even engaging in school sports and things like that we know really improve young people's chance of success. We also help to support all of that as well. We also conduct a lot of training and outreach related to education. So we actually go into schools. We go into mostly high schools here in Clark County, and we table in cafeterias. We speak to classrooms. We speak to extracurricular activities and groups. And we try to spread the word about our services to help identify youth who might be falling through the cracks, who are experiencing homelessness, and make sure they're aware of the services available in the community and connect them. And we also do a lot of training with personnel. The Title I Hope office in Clark County that focuses on serving students experiencing homelessness. We work with them to train all of their advocates that are located in all the schools in Clark County, as well as to train teachers, other faculty members and staff members, whether that's truancy officers, whether that's just anybody working at schools who are interacting with youth on a regular basis, train them on how to identify young people experiencing homelessness, how to work with them in a non-stigmatizing and uplifting manner, and how to connect them to the services available at their school and in the community. So that's another thing that we do, is we do a lot of training with school personnel. We also right now have a pilot project with the Clark County School District, which is really, really exciting. We're very excited about this. We have 2 full-time staff members stationed in 2 high schools here in Clark County to offer that on-the-ground support, bring some of our support directly into the schools themselves, and be able to make that streamlined and closer connection to the rest of our services and community services for these young people to help with identification and connection and support. So this is our first year with that project. We're very excited to explore this project, see how it goes, and expand it as well. And we also do a lot of higher education support and advocacy as well. We work with a variety of higher ed institutions, but one program in particular that we have had is that we worked with UNLV to create the UNLV Hope Scholars Program, which is a program that provides housing and mentorship and academic support to higher ed students experiencing homelessness. And that's a program that's available for a number of youth at UNLV. We help them develop that, but we've also done a lot of work in trying to advocate for systems level solutions to homelessness in higher ed, including a lot of work that we did in the past legislative session to advocate around a bill that would have waived tuition for any young person who's experienced homelessness in our community here in Nevada. We would have waived public school tuition to NHC, public higher education, mandatory tuition and fees for young people experiencing homelessness. And this is something that we continue to pursue to break down barriers for young people experiencing homelessness to access higher education, and then have that opportunity to not only advance their education, but have higher earnings potential, have that chance at a future that so many of their peers do. So yeah, I will stop talking now and turn it over. But yeah, that's a little bit about Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth, NPHY, and the services that we offer and some of the educational specific services as well. And look forward, after Children's Cabinet speaks, to diving into some more of kind of the why, the how, and the impact all of these things have.
Great. Thank you very much, Melissa. Now we're going to have Jeremy and Lacey share with us about the Children's Cabinet.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak about the Children's Cabinet. My name is Jeremy Stocking. I'm the Department Director for our Family Youth Intervention Department. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the Children's Cabinet. We were established in 1985. Michael Dermody and Judge McGee and the Director of Social Services saw an increase of cases coming across Judge McGee's desk or bench, and they were unable, our community was not able to meet the needs of Northern Nevada with programming. So they established the Children's Cabinet in 1985. The mission of the Children's Cabinet is to keep children safe and families together. By doing that, we identify the gaps in the community, and then we provide programming to help alleviate some of those gaps. There's going to be, Lacey's going to talk about a couple of the programs at the Children's Cabinet, but there's two things that I want you to remember when she's talking about these programs. It's case management and family counseling. That's been the staple of the Children's Cabinet since inception, and that's why our programs at the Children's Cabinet have been so successful.
Perfect. So let me see if this is going to work here. Of course, it worked to begin with, but now. Okay. So when we talk about our Children's Cabinet, we obviously have been established in our community for quite some time, and we have a couple different offices that do some different things within our community, and then some down in Vegas as well. So when we talk about our department, we're talking about our family and youth intervention programming, and what that does is that serves youth all the way from 0 up to 24 years of age, and provides that wraparound supports for their family. So our core services are that family wraparound case management, prevention and intervention programs, education, workforce development, and mental health. And within that, we have quite an array of different programs that we really offer. And then it goes from everything from our Safe Place, which is our 24-hour 365 hotline that really targets our at-risk homeless youth and just youth experiencing those times where they need to be with a case manager. And that is, like I said, 24/7, 365. They call and they are linked directly to one of our case managers that really helps that family facilitate some wraparound services immediately. And then we have our street outreach and our Safe at Home, which works with DCFS on really helping families get stabilized with human and health services. And then we have our educational services. And so what's really unique to our campus is that we have an on-site high school. And this high school is called Redfield Academy. And it's a beautiful partnership between our Children's Cabinet and then our local Washoe County School District. And so this high school actually serves our at-promise students. It enrolls 40 students at one given time. We see probably about 65 students throughout the course of a school year. And these high school students are very much so living that adult life. Some of them are homeless, some of them are parents themselves, and some of them are really just looking for an alternative sort of education, and all of them receive that case management. So we're really breaking down those barriers and reprioritizing education, but then also making sure that that family is stable and ready to be able to move through that educational career. With that, we have an extension of their school day through a 21st century program called Continued Success, which is really unique because this program actually targets our high school population for after school programming, and really has a high focus on that vocational and work sorry, I'm at a loss of words here, but that workforce development. And so we're really trying to make sure that our students are engaged in vocational experiences that can offer them, you know, certificates, and then a competitive wage and a more successful pathway into careers. And then we have our Hippie and our PAT, which starts from the beginning. It really allows parents and stresses the needs of parents being their students, their child's first teacher within the home, and conducts those home visits and actually role plays how parents can engage with their young ones. And then we have what we're really focusing on this year is strengthening our workforce development programs. And so we have a lot of different youth ran workforce opportunities, everything from our Washoe Youth Build, which actually is a partnership with the Department of Labor and gets kids into that construction trade, gets them actual dual credits with TMCC. So these are high school students who are either dropped out, vanished from the school district, and or are at risk of being dropouts. And we're actually engaging them into that college atmosphere. So they're able to earn dual credits, they're able to complete their high school career, but they're getting that experience and that hands-on introduction into what post-secondary looks like. And then we have our Cabinet Inc., which allows students to really understand what entrepreneurship is within our digital print shop. And that gives them a bright range right into our partnership with Custom Ink in that. So we have that. We also have a food trailer that really gives them another entrepreneurship opportunity. And then we've also been working with Sierra Nevada AHEC to get these students their certificate in community health worker. And so that's really that new term and getting kids into that human and health services and really making sure that they have some good grounding to go into the community for those that want to get into that human and health service field. And then with all of that, we also wrap in our mental health services. So we really make sure that we are addressing more than just those basic needs within the home, that educational needs. We're making sure that we provide the mental health services within our free counseling department agency as well.
Great. Thank you all three for the information on your organizations. And Nevada Housing Coalition is doing such a great job statewide in creating an awareness and attempting to address the issue of affordable housing. And as we're trying to identify how that impacts and intersects with education, one of the statistics that has come up that's just staggering is right now, as of the current estimate, there's over 14,000 youth in Clark County alone that are either families with children who are homeless or self-identified unaccompanied minors that are homeless. So I want to turn it over to our panelists. Certainly we were hearing from Jeremy and Lacey. I'll start with you. Why is that the case? And Wendell asked the question. I hope we get at it a little bit, and we'll get at it, a little bit more at the end if we don't. What are the factors that keep youth from being able to access affordable housing? So Jeremy, I'll turn it over.
So some of the risk factors that were coming into play when we're working with our families is there seems to be some conflict within the family dynamic, the poverty, there's unmet needs of mental health, and the lack of affordable housing. We're really trying to work with our family to create budgets and create those supports and resources that give them the opportunity that they can be successful.
Great. Lacey, anything you want to add on that from your perspective?
Yeah, so working within our on-site high school, we really understand and know firsthand what these students are experiencing. And with many high schools, they don't have the opportunity to do such deep dives into those basic needs because they are dealing with such a high population of student body, right? And so we have the unique ability to really ask some hard questions and have kind of those hard conversation with parents to really figure out what it is that they need to start building that trust. And just like Jeremy said, a lot of times it comes down to parents have had hard times. We all fall on those, and they just don't know how to connect to all the resources that are in the community and or what they qualify for. And so it's really breaking down kind of from start. What are they eligible for? Where do we begin? And we see that happens a lot of times with our families that are those low-income families that have had maybe some bad experiences in the past and or are new to our community too. We've seen a lot of newcomers coming into town, and so they're without that community connectedness.
Great, thank you. Melissa, you had mentioned unaccompanied youth and where they do have family members. How do they become homeless? Can you expand on that a little bit, and what other barriers you're seeing to that particular population being able to access housing?
Yeah, absolutely. So family homelessness and unaccompanied youth homelessness are so interconnected, right, and interrelated, but then they also have their unique factors. And of course, poverty and lack of affordable housing and unemployment and underemployment and all of that plays a major role in all of those types of homelessness. But when it comes to unaccompanied young people experiencing homelessness, there's a lot of specific factors at play, right? I mentioned before, a lot of times it's severe family breakdown, things where there's abuse or neglect. A young person is running away from experiencing abuse or neglect. They're kicked out of the house for a variety of factors. That could also be, there are also socio-cultural factors that are related to this, right? We know that young people, Black, Indigenous, and other young people of color are much more likely than their peers to experience homelessness as a young person or in general. We also know that LGBTQ youth are much, much more likely than their peers to experience homelessness, right? And that a lot of young people come out and get kicked out of the house from that. There's also sometimes when a whole family is experiencing homelessness, the young people actually get separated because of the rules at shelters of who can stay at shelters, or different age ranges around that. Or we also know that systems involved youth, so young people who have had any sort of experience in child welfare, they might have been in and out of foster care throughout their childhood in an unstable situation, or young people who have had experience in the juvenile justice system are also much, much more likely to experience homelessness than their peers. We also know that pregnant and parenting teens are also more likely to experience homelessness than their peers, right? So there are a lot of factors that make young people more likely to experience homelessness on their own, that can affect those family dynamics. And you all mentioned about so many newcomers to the area, right? And that's the same down here. Nevada is the most transient state in the nation, right? This comes over and over again in our census data. And when we look at this, and that makes it really hard, right? Wendell asked in the Q&A, if there are young people who have relatives elsewhere, why are they experiencing homelessness? And a lot of times there's something going on when the family that they're coming from, or the home that they're coming from, where it's no longer safe or stable or reliable for them to live there, but yet then they have a situation where they get disconnected from that family and they don't have the resources to get reconnected to other family members elsewhere. So they might need some assistance for that, right? And a lot of times we have young people who fall through the cracks of systems, right? That's another thing. Our systems aren't fully equipped to be able to catch those youth before they fall into a situation of homelessness as well.
Thank you, Melissa. One of the things I'd like you both to expand on a little bit, Lacey, I know you have a high school the children's cabinet runs. It's very successful, but can you touch on how that instability in housing impacts the students and their education and how they interact with the school district? And then certainly with Washoe, Melissa, we'll get back to Clark County and what you see there too.
Yeah, so obviously, again, when a student's not in school, they're not getting their education, but first and foremost, they're not being connected to those supports. And that's when we start seeing students get, vanished and lost through the cracks. And so here at Redfield, that's our population. We target those vanished kids, and a lot of them are our CIT, or children in transition. And what we've really seen since COVID is that we have a large population of kids that are ready to go to work and would rather work than attend school because they really want to be adding to that family household income. They know, even at their young age, that with the rise of living costs, that their parents are struggling, their guardians are struggling. And with that, they sense that, and it becomes part of their burden. And so education is no longer that priority. And so they're going out and they're getting jobs where we see they're not making competitive wages. They're not being led successfully. And it's cycling into a situation where ultimately they're being taken advantage of within the workforce. And so what we really try to do is we make sure, again, all those basic needs are addressed. We really look at our and work with our Washoe County School District on those chronic absenteeism rates. We're out there doing those truancy sweeps with them when they're out there. So that way it's not just the school district, we're a community agency, and we know that we are able to provide that family with immediate wraparound case management supports, whether that's housing stability, food stability, all of the stabilities in between, to really make sure that this student feels successful, safe, and can trust that the family is going to be okay while they tend to their education.
And that's the knock and talk program that's done up there, right? And Jeremy, please, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please go ahead.
One of the things I just want to highlight is why Redfield is so successful is it's a very intimate setting with 2 case managers, 2 teachers and a principal, you're really able to get to know the youth and the families and some of the struggles that they're dealing with. And that focus on workforce development, we're able to do stackable training and skills that they're able to go out and be employable out into the community, and they're able to learn or earn a sustainable wage, and actually give them the confidence of, hey, I'm able to earn these credits, I'm able to go back into school, I can work and go to school and still live and support my family. So it's really a great program.
Yeah, and I think answering like what Jim had just asked, looking at that whole family unit, he had asked if any of us are working with underemployed families that need college level training. We definitely are. We make sure that when we talk about family focused wraparound supports, that's exactly what we're doing. Our parents receive intakes and we ask what are those needs? How are they wanting to hire their education or improve their employment? And if they're ready and willing to go to post-secondary, we're right on board finding out what they are eligible for and financially wise, and making sure that it's a whole team effort. We've actually had students that are getting back into school, and then parents who are like, you know what, I want to go and get my GED, my HSC, so that way I can be working with my student. And we're right there along with them, making sure that they're getting connected to those higher education, and then celebrating those successes along the way as they're doing it together.
Great, thank you. Melissa, you want to talk about the Clark County School District and how that engagement, especially with the unaccompanied minors, what that looks like and the ability to stay focused on an education when they don't have stable housing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, if you put yourself in the shoes of, right, a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old who doesn't know where you're going to sleep each night or even necessarily where your next meal is going to come from, it's very, very, very difficult to focus on school, right? It's schools are already very challenging, right? And there's already so many distractions in our lives, and nowadays especially. And when a young person doesn't have stable housing, it can be a struggle, and often is a struggle, to meet their basic needs, right? Things like food, hygiene, even having clean clothes to go to school in each day, right? To make yourself feel confident enough to be able to step into the classroom and see your peers and your teachers and all of that, right? Medical, a lot of times they are disconnected from having their medical needs met, et cetera, et cetera. But also, Lacey mentioned a lot about competing responsibilities, right? A lot of our unaccompanied young people, if they're separated from their families, likely they're also pursuing workforce, right? They're pursuing employment, and they're juggling employment with going to school full time, right? Or sometimes there's childcare considerations that might be their own, they might be a parenting youth, but for many of our young people, there's even situations where sometimes they end up taking care of a younger sibling, right? And then they have to juggle childcare. Or, there are also very complex, constantly changing family dynamics where there might be, one day they're interacting with their family and then the next they're not. And then so that can be very distracting for school, right? And then our young people experiencing homelessness in school also have additional risk factors, right? They're more likely to experience bullying than their peers, right? They're more likely to have mental health effects from the trauma that resulted in them experiencing homelessness and the trauma on the streets, right? So there are a lot of things that make it very difficult. And then a lot of times the ways that these plays out in the classroom, sometimes teachers mistake these for disciplinary issues, right? Like, so a young person has all of these challenges going on outside of the classroom. The teacher might not be aware, right? A lot of times young people hide their homeless status, whether it's because they don't want people to know, that, or whether it's even for their safety, right? Because they're afraid of being victimized out on the streets or, by other bad actors like traffickers or things like that, right? It's very dangerous. So a lot of times they hide their homeless status, and in school it's just seen as, you're late all the time, like why are you never getting your homework done, why are you talking out in class, acting up in class, et cetera, et cetera. But it's symptoms of what they're experiencing outside of school. So getting in there as NPHY and being able to identify those students and meet those wraparound needs and meet those basic needs and provide them support through case management and enrichment activities, engagement activities, tutoring, help them have a safe, quiet place to do homework, et cetera, having all of those needs met, that makes all the difference for our young people to be able to concentrate, focus, and succeed in school. And this is so important because we know education is the #1 protective factor for our young people, right? We know that experiencing homelessness makes it very difficult to succeed in school for all of those increased challenges and barriers. But at the same time, we know that young people without a high school diploma or equivalency are 346% more likely to experience homelessness than their peers. So we also know that graduating high school is actually the biggest protective factor to prevent long-term homelessness. So it's very important we support our youth in these ways.
I agree. Thank you for highlighting that. So we have just a few minutes left. I'm going to turn it over to the Children's Cabinet in 1 minute. Please share your legislative successes. If you want to talk about a loss, that's fine too, but I always think it's best to end on a positive note when we can. And then I'll toss the same question to Melissa.
So with the Children's Cabinet, and what we are so proud of is being able to have the opportunity to identify the gaps in the community and create programs to serve those gaps. In the upcoming future, we are in a partnership with the Food Bank of Northern Nevada, and we will be opening another building location off of Audi that will serve the needs of workforce development and our unmet community service needs. So we're very excited about that.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. Melissa, one of your legislative wins that you want to highlight?
Yeah, absolutely. So NPHY has been able to champion something called the Movement to End Youth Homelessness in Nevada that has done a variety of policy work since around 2017. And in 2019, we were able to get a law passed that broke down barriers to young people accessing identification documents, their vital documents like birth certificates and Nevada IDs and driver's licenses, which are very important for employment, education, et cetera, right? And then in 2021, we had a great legislative success as well, where we were able to break down barriers to unaccompanied minors to be able to access critical healthcare services, right? And obviously in the height of the COVID pandemic, that was especially important. And the day that law passed, we were able to get young people COVID vaccinations and tests and, be able to go see doctors, and even for things like asthma and diabetes and all kinds of things like that, that broke down some very important barriers for our unaccompanied minors experiencing homelessness to access healthcare. So those were two great legislative successes we had. In this past session, we were pursuing a bill, as I mentioned earlier, to waive mandatory fees and tuition for any young person who had experienced homelessness in Nevada. The great successes with that is that the NHC chancellor came out in favor of it. We had all kinds of cross-sector support. We had over 13, 14 sponsors of that bill. So it made a lot of great progress. Unfortunately, it did get stuck in Ways and Means. So this is something that we are continuing to pursue, whether that's with NHC, whether that's in the next legislative session or other ways. But foster youth in Nevada have this right to no-cost higher education, and our young people experiencing homelessness as an overlapping population with fewer resources, we know they're in great need of this as well, and this could make a massive transformative impact on our state. So we look forward to continuing to pursue that and other policy priorities too.
Great, thank you. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Thank you very much to the panelists and to the Nevada Housing Coalition. Joanna, I'm going to turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What a really amazing discussion. I was telling the panelists before we started the webinar that I always am left wanting more after these conversations, and then I'm always full of ideas for how we can continue the conversation and do roundtable discussions, summits, and many of that you guys are already doing. So I don't really need to talk about these ideas because you guys are really out there doing the work. And what I love about this conversation, and for those of you who know me or who've attended my events before, is I really believe in intersectionality and the importance of housing at the center of building holistic community wellness in all areas and across all sectors. And I think that this conversation really highlighted how things are really interconnected, and you really can't pull them apart. Actually, we all have to be working together, and we have to be strategic and be supporting each other's work to make all of our work. Not very articulate today, but I hope the meaning gets through. But thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Thank you so much, Demet, for moderating, and for all of the panelists. And please join us at the Nevada Housing Conference in October, and please sign up for future Lunch and Learns. And keep in touch. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you. So if you have any ideas or you want to highlight a topic that we haven't talked about, please reach out to me. And my email is on the website, nvhousingcoalition.org. Have a great afternoon, everybody.